Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Ben Jones back here. Monday morning, the 20th day of April. So happy April 20th to you. It's another Monday. Got my cup of coffee. That's the way to start them out. I'm just going to chit-chat, jibber-jabber for a minute while we wait for folks to join up. So thanks for joining us on our Facebook Live tour of All Things Coffee. Welcome to my little coffee working shop. Got some of my toys back there. Important part, something yummy in the cup. It's a good cup of coffee. It's a nice way to start the day. A good way to start the morning. What I'm drinking right now is a little bit of our Dancing Goats blend. If you are familiar with Batter from Bronson, which I sure hope you are, or familiar with the Dancing Goats coffee bars, this is our signature house blend. It's what we serve in all of our cafes. It's our standard espresso. It makes a fantastic drip coffee. Very dynamic, very diverse. We've also got another blend. The very first one, well, we got many blends actually, but the very first blend I ever tasted, the first coffee I had from Batter from Bronson, was the Whirling Dervish. Ryan, Brendan, good morning, fellas. Thank you for joining. Kristen, thanks for joining. So the first Batter from Bronson I ever remember tasting was the Whirling Dervish blend. It was delicious. It was very as espresso, thick, rich, incredibly deep maraschino cherry, dark chocolate, kind of had a smokiness and a brightness to it all at the same time, two things we typically don't see. That's the magic of a blend. Classically, many coffees that we drink are going to be blends, and blends is a very classic way to do coffee, but we also have single origin. So if you go to our website, shameless plug, batdorfcoffee.com, great place to stock up on all your coffee needs. We're going to have our coffees broken down essentially into blends and single origins. A single origin means exactly what that is. It comes from one origin. Before I worked in coffee, I never really gave much thought to the fact that that has to come from somewhere. It just so happens that it's the seed of a fruit that grows on a tree, and the better seeds, the ones that end up tasting the best in our cup, are grown in tropical regions and high altitude situations. So that's the origin, where it comes from. So, single origins or blends. I don't force myself to choose, neither should you. Just know what you're looking at when you go into the store. We're going to start with single origins. On my wall today, I have the Colombia Las Brisas, which if you've been watching, you know that we really enjoying. I also have a decaffeinated coffee from Peru. Both of these are going to be single origins. Morning, Chris. That means that they came from one country. We can shrink that origin down well beyond simply the country. For example, the Peru, I don't know, morning cat, I don't know a whole lot of specifics on where that Peru comes from itself. I know it's from Peru. It's probably from a general region. But with this Colombia, our coffee buyer, Bob, he knows that this coffee comes from a single farm. It's from one little spot. Edward Geraldo is the fellow who owns the farm and who runs everything and keeps things going. Those both are single origins. One we have a lot more information about because we know the farm owner. The other, we just kind of know the importers. So we might we might not have as much information about it, but those both are single origin coffees. They're going to have very unique traits. They're going to have some very specific profiles. There's definitely some advantages and some disadvantages. Other single origins that you might see on our website, we have a pair of Guatemalan coffees. We have the La Esperanza, which is grown, Octavio Herrera is the farmer. So that's pretty rad. We know his name. We know who he is. Our coffee buyer, Bob, is out there and does work with him. We have another Guatemalan coffee, the Organic Guatemala, the El Volcan. And that coffee, also a single origin, but instead of being from a single landowner, it's more of a cooperative group of people coming together, and that's named for the Asperguate. It's one of the associations of coffee growers down there, so it's more of a blend of localized coffees. If you keep scrolling through our website and you come across the Burundi Gahahe, Burundi, it's a country in Africa, and Gahahe refers specifically to the washing station where all the local producers, small landholders, people who might only have a few trees in some small acreage, or hectares, however we're counting the land, they will bring their coffee together. They'll mix it with the other coffees. It gets processed and then sent off to us through the exporter importers. That is another single origin coffee. So single origin just means where does it come from? Some people take it as broad. There are certain companies that say 100% Colombian coffees. Well, Colombia is quite a large country. The coffees in the north of Colombia are very differentiated from the coffees in the south of Colombia. If you're looking for very unique traits, and if you get really into it, you might start to notice that coffee from the north tastes very different from coffee from the south. I happen to like coffee out of the southern region. It's my preference, but that's irrelevant. What I prefer, because it's all about what everybody else is enjoying. So, well, let's talk about blends and single origins and how they kind of play together. Coffee's a lot like apples in that you have different varieties. We have our roastery out in Georgia. Apparently, that's a great place to be growing peaches. Fantastic. I don't know a lot about peaches, but I do know that Atlanta is a good place for that. We also have peaches here in the Northwest, but they're going to be very different peaches, so we would be buying probably single origin peaches. Art and craft time, right? So I've got our primary colors here. We've got our reds, yellows, blues, and then I tossed a little bit of titanium white. There's a fascinating podcast. Oh, I forgot. Anyway, titanium white, total side story. We're not going to go there. Anyway, irrelevant. Red is a great color. Yellow is a great color. The analogy here is that this might be coffee from Peru, and this might be coffee from Brazil, and this could be coffee from Burundi. And the white, let's just make that coffee from Sumatra. So Brendan's asking what the podcast was. That's where I drew a blank. I believe 99% Invisible, 99PI did a little thing. I think they were talking about the titanium white and national security interests of a color. Fascinating. Oh, I totally just led you all down the wrong hole because it wasn't 99PI. Hidden Brain? No, not Hidden Brain. Anyway, I'm going to have to figure that out. Stay tuned. I'll post in the comments if I can find out. All right. So, if we take some of our coffee from, what do we say, from Peru, and we take a little bit of that and we put it here, and then we take a little bit of our coffee from Brazil and mix that in, we've toned down and enhanced different elements of that. Let's put some of that there, and let's do a little bit of our Burundi and the Brazil. I watched a lot of Bob Ross as a kid. Really happy that they're back on Netflix. I know I will remember 2 minutes after we're done here. So we can take different single origins and we can mix them together to enhance different elements of the different colors. So we can get something a little more green by putting in a little bit of yellow with a little bit of the blue, right? that's what we're doing when we're talking about a blend. If we want to lighten it up, we can put in some of that titanium white, and we can get things lightened up a little bit here. I'm a coffee artist, not a acrylic paint artist. But that's the basic idea with blending. Coffees from Brazil, characteristically, will give a lot of body. We'll get a lot of really fantastic chocolatey notes and some florality from our Colombia. Then there's a really incredibly rich earthy tobacco tone out of Sumatra, so we might toss in a little bit of that just to bring up a different aspect of that coffee. We talked a little bit about apples and how apples come in different varieties. You got your Braeburns, your Red Delicious, your Granny Smiths. I'm pretty partial to Fuji's. If you're making applesauce, you'll use certain apples. If you're making apple pies, you'll choose different apples for their different unique qualities. Sometimes you can blend a Gravenstein with a Granny Smith to make your applesauce, and that'll really kind of enhance the tartness. It's exactly what we do and what everyone else does with coffees. So our Dancing Goats blend classically is going to be about 4 different coffees from around the world. I can't tell you exactly what's in it because I work on the already roasted side of the coffee, just pouring the water over it. And it's secret, toppest of secrets. But mostly I can't tell you because it's always changing. So as Georgia is growing its peaches, there's a season for it. And when peach season is out, you don't really save the Georgian peaches to go back to them. You have to get them from somewhere else. And it might not be exactly the same as what you had before, but some peach is better than no peach, I suppose, if you really like peaches. If you really like the Pink Lady apples, are you stuck on Pink Ladies only? Or are you going to, would you go out for something else? Anyway, point being, with blending, our Dancing Goats, it's coffee typically from 4 different countries around the world, and those are going to rotate depending on the harvest. So as different countries come in and out of harvest, we're going to get coffees from them while others are going to go out of freshness or out of availability. I did a painfully miserable job of blending these coffees, these colors together. I made quite a mess of everything. This isn't my forte. That's okay. In our roastery, we've got a team, our coffee buying team, Bob, and then our roasters at both locations in Atlanta and Olympia. They're incredibly skilled at not only keeping their coffees fresh and knowing what they taste like, but they're able to roast them individually and then blend them together without muddying it the way I muddied those colors. And that's a really special talent. The goal there being that if you mix a color and then you have to, go back and touch it up later, you want to really make sure you match the color well. Otherwise, you'll be able to see that difference in paintings. So our roasting team and our coffee buyer Bob, they're incredibly skilled at basically flavor matching. So they can take coffees from the same general regions, different crops, and they can tweak their roast profile a little bit to pull out different flavors to really maintain that consistent and stable Dancing Goats flavor, so that really when you're tasting it in December, it tastes like the same coffee that you tasted in April or June or September. Dancing Goats, Whirling Dervish, Bohemian Blend, they're going to taste the same year-round. We keep those coffees here all year. Our single origins, they come and go. One of the reasons I've been so into the Colombia is simply because it comes and it goes, and when it's here, you're excited. Choose a single origin, choose a blend, play with them, find something you like. Every now and again, I'll blend up something at home myself. I'll take some of that Colombia. I'll take a little bit of the Burundi Gahahe, and I might toss in a little bit of some organic French roast and kind of do my own home blending. So pop in at the website, batdorfcoffee.com. We've got some deals going on, free shipping over $30. So if you buy a couple weeks worth of coffee and stock up, we can save on some shipping. There's some deals also with brew devices and bags of Dancing Goats. I believe if you buy a brewing device right now, you'll get a discount on a bag of Dancing Goats, which is pretty rad. There are links in the description, whichever direction the descriptions and comments are coming in on your viewer device. Tune back in. We're going to have Bob tomorrow. Bob is going to correct me on all the finer points because that's his job, is to know the ins and outs of all things coffee sourcing, and fantastic. 25% off Dancing Goats. Thank you, Brendan, if you buy that brew device. I'm going to sip on my coffee for a minute. Good old Dancing Goats. It's always there for you. It's like a hug. Good hug. All right. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy your day. See you tomorrow.